Exodus 20, verse 1. And God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image or a likeness of anything that's in the heaven above, that's in the earth beneath, that's in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquities of the fathers onto their children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing steadfast love to thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall do your labor and all your work. But on the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, not you, your son, your daughter, your male servants, your female servants, or even your livestock or your animals, or the visitor who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and the earth, and the sea, and all that is in them, and he rested on the seventh day. Therefore, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. And today, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Probably one of the least preached on in all the 10 Commandments is what I'm going to be looking at today. But I want to make this case for it, that this is probably one of the most important realities in all of society, is the aspect of telling the truth. Many of us, and we looked at stealing last week, kleptos, how did we do this last week? We do better? Everybody leave pens at work and everything else? Did you bring back all that stuff that's at your desk in the office, at home, back to the office, at work? Here's the point. Don't come here and listen to a nice sermon. Don't come here and meet nice people. You come here, you learn something, and you better apply it. If you went home and stole last week, shame on you. 1, because it's a sin, and 2, because I told you not to, I read out of God's word. And you didn't apply. So here's the thing. It doesn't do any good to listen without acting. It doesn't do any good to hear and think, I know that, rather than applying. Many of us wonder why we're not growing in our walk with Christ. We stagnate, we die, we regress. The only reason that happens is because you don't apply what you've heard. You start gaining information rather than transformation. And that should never happen. You should listen and do. Not because I'm saying it, because God's saying it. And that's different. That's a different level of authority, right? Right? Okay, good. You're like, I don't know if that is. That's a great question. No, it is. And today, we talk about being truth tellers. We talk about being people of truth. No society can survive on lies. So I'll just start it off. Ready? It's amazing how the 10 Commandments are 3,500 years old. And it applies to your Twitter feed and your Facebook feed today. It was amazing to me how one of our leaders in our country can get rid of 30,000 secret, private, security emails, can wipe them off the face of the earth, and the FBI can come out, our Federal Bureau of Investigation can come out and say, that's true, that was a mishandling of security from a high-ranking official. And our FBI cannot indict that person. And, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're super conservative or super liberal or you're a tree hugger that loves animals. It doesn't matter what end of the political spectrum you're on. When the FBI comes out and says, yeah, that person did it, but we're not going to indict him, everybody goes, are people above the law? If you and I had done that, if we worked at Boeing or somewhere where there was high security, that dealt with our country, and we just wiped out 30,000 emails that dealt with our security issues, we'd go to jail for the rest of our lives. And so watch. when a high-ranking official gets a pass, then the populace, me and you, go, dude, is there any truth that matters? When Donald Trump comes out and he talks blah, blah, blah about almost everything that flies out of his mouth feels like a lie. Lie, lie, lie. My business lie, lie, lie. People go back and go, I don't know if your business is really worth that. Well, I just kind of thought it was. That's called a lie. Because that's your business you own. So it doesn't matter what end of the political spectrum you're on, truth is a vital reality. Because without truth, without truth, we don't know who to trust or where our country's going. Right? So this morning, when we talk about being a false witness, it goes beyond just being a witness inside of a courtroom. It goes to the reality of truth. And are the people of God truth tellers, or are we liars? Because for some of us, lying has become so common, we don't even recognize we lie anymore. Lying, has become our native tongue. It's so natural to us, it's like our native tongue. We lie and distort. Even when you put a picture up of yourself, it's still got a filter over it. I don't know if I'd call that lying. I'd call that making yourself look better, which everyone appreciates. But realize, in our society, from FBI of one of our high-ranking officials all the way down to a filter you put on Facebook or on Instagram, we all manipulate. Our looks, our job, our finances, how we talk about it, everything is twisted just a little bit. Now, filters aren't immoral, but realize that in our society, almost from front to back, we are naturally manipulators of truth. We are the photoshoppers of truth. I don't like my nose. Oh, now I like it. With a click of a few mouse clicks, all of a sudden my nose is straight. All of a sudden I have perfect eyebrows. My hair is perfectly coiffed. If you don't know what that word is, look it up. From Mount Sinai, so we're still at Mount Sinai, the Israelites who were rescued from slavery are now still at Mount Sinai getting the Ten Commandments. From Mount Sinai, God gave the commandments as an overview of the law in descending order of honor and authority. So the first one, no other gods before me, no carved images to worship. Do not take the name of God in vain. Keep the Sabbath holy. Honor your father and your mother. Do not murder. Do not commit adultery. And last week we looked at, do not steal. The first 4 are people's relationship to God. The next 6 on the 10 are people's relationship to others. So our vertical relationship has to get straight before our horizontal relationships get straight. And we're looking at number 9 today. Do not be a false witness. Do not be a false witness. The nation of Israel, who had just come from being slaves, had no rights and had only experienced the Egyptian justice system, which was dictated by the Pharaoh. So in our world, we have juries. It's one of the most amazing systems in the history of humanity. Guess what I just got last week? Literally just got last week. Oh, you know how you're feeling now, right? Jury summons, everybody. It's the thing you never want to see, but you know you got to do it. It pops up in your mail, and all of a sudden, jury summons. And you realize all the plans you had now are null and void. Because the jury summons tells you, we need you to come figure out if somebody's guilty or not. Now, I love our justice system in comparison to other options, which are basically like dictatorship. Or like the Pharaoh in Egypt. His justice system was basically like, I don't really like you. You're in jail. I like you. Yeah, you can stay. Why don't you just give me your land? I don't like this whole section. You're going to jail. I don't like your glasses. Go kill that guy. In other systems, you're just kind of going, what are you talking about? You can't just go like this and have things happen to people's lives. Oh, yeah, you can. In other parts of the world, boom, that's how it happens. Dictatorships, kings, wicked people, that's how it works. Almost in our day and age, Hitler put millions of people to death, and his whole country rallied behind him. And you just kind of go, how can that even be possible? He was basically a dictator of morality in his own nation. So understand this. I love our justice system. As flawed as it is, it's one of the best systems you get in dealing with sinful people. But it still irritates me. I still have to shell out. But understand this. Those of us that have been in a court of law, anybody been in a court of law in here? Whether you wanted to be or not? Yes? You realize when you're in that court the value of the truth. Right? Especially if you're innocent. If somebody walks into the little box right there and they lie, oh no, I saw him steal. And you've never stolen anything in your life from that person. You kind of go, why is this person lying? I'm going to lose my livelihood. I might go to jail. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my house. Maybe my wife will leave me because I'll end up in jail for 20 years or whatever. I mean, literally, on the basis of somebody lying or telling the truth, your whole life can be changed. Literally. And that's the value of truth. A society cannot survive on falsehood. A society cannot survive when certain people are above the law. Everybody should be under the law. Correct? President to the bottom. Everybody is under the law. When people are above the law or lies are told, then society starts to splinter apart. That's the value of truth. After being rescued by the true God, Israelites, when they were slaves in Egypt, God related this new justice system which was founded upon truth. Before forensics, the most vital and potentially damaging part of the justice system was an eyewitness, as a person's livelihood or possibly even their very lives might be on the line. For this reason, 2 or 3 witnesses were required and punished if found to be lying. So, to keep from one person going, I really don't like this guy, what can I do to get back at him? I tell you what, I'm going to say that he raped my daughter. Or I'm going to say, he owes me $50,000 for the business deal that went sideways. And we've never even been in business together. He's never even met my daughter. Or whatever the situation is. To keep one guy from bringing pain into someone else's life by being a liar, God ingeniously requires 2 or 3 people that know of what he did. So that it keeps one guy from coming up to the judge going, hey, this guy did all that stuff. And then the judge going, did you do that stuff? No, I didn't do it. Yeah, he did. And so you have to decide between just 2 totally opposite sides. And it might be that if you and I are together in on this thing, that we put him to death, or that we take his property, or he goes to jail. So God ingeniously goes, nope, we're going to have 2 or 3 people that know firsthand of the situation to keep that from happening. So 3 people are going to have to stand up and go, that's not true. He was never in business with that guy, or he's never even been with his daughter, or whatever. But watch what will happen if I or 2 or 3 people lie about it. Look at this. You're in Exodus. Turn to the next couple books. Past it is Deuteronomy. Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 19. What if this was our justice system? Deuteronomy 19, verse 15. Deuteronomy 19:15. A single witness shall not suffice against a person for any crime or for any wrong that is in connection with any offense he has committed. Only on the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses shall a charge be established. If a malicious witness arises to accuse a person of wrongdoing, then both parties of the dispute shall appear before the Lord, before the priests and the judges who are in office those days. The judges shall inquire diligently, and if the witness is a false witness and has accused his brother falsely, then you shall do to him as he meant to do to his brother. Would that streamline our justice system? Amen. Holy cow. If you figured, gosh, you know what, I'd really like to get back at that guy. What can I do? I'm going to take him. Let me see if I can get $50,000 out of him. But you realize that if the judge or somebody else finds out, you were never even in business with him. Now I owe him 50 grand. And now he is really handicapped. Because of my lying, I've handicapped my own financial future. So now I have to give to him. Imagine if in our justice system, you better be telling the truth if you're going to go to court. Rather than you're just going to try to take money from people or manipulate people. Realize that if you lie and we find out you lie, you actually owe them what you were trying to get out of them. Imagine how that would change our justice system if the people who came up with an accusation, if they're not telling the truth, they actually get the punishment that they're bringing against the other person. That would change what you bring to court, right? Because right now in our justice system, it's a free-for-all. I can just bring up anything I want against anybody, even if it's not true. And God goes, nope. I'd make a lot less work for the lawyers if they realize this guy's life's on the line, and so your life's on the line if what you're saying about him isn't true. That brings truth to the surface. The root of the command to not be a false witness was the desire or ability to lie about a situation to escape judgment or for personal gain. Truth without prejudice is at a premium in any society, especially among God's people. If you are a follower of God, if you claim that Jesus has changed your life, you should be a person of truth. You should be a person of truth. You should be a person of truth. You should always give the truth in love. If you claim to be a business owner that's a Christian, that's a follower of Christ, your business should run with integrity. You claim to be a person that loves God, you should run your lives with integrity. Do I have any math people in here? Where are my math people? Where are my math nerds? Anybody just love math? Some people are shaking their heads like evil. Anything else? Anybody? We got a couple? Any other math people? Okay, we had a lot more nerds in the first service. Okay, listen. If you're a math person, there's a thing called an integer. And an integer is basically a whole number. What it means is this number is non-fractional. It's a whole number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get the word integrity from the word integer, which means that if you have integrity, you are non-fractional. You are the same all the time. You are the same Friday nights as you are Sunday morning, as you are Saturday afternoon. In your business dealings on Tuesday afternoon where you're about ready to ink a business deal, you're the same guy that's going to make the same call as he would if he was sitting here on Sunday morning. Integrity means you are purely the same from front to back. The way you act at any time during the week is the same as you would act at any other time. In other words, you're non-devised. You don't have a duality in your life. I like to party and get high. But I'm also going to come to church and just go, hey, look, I love Jesus. I like to rip people off. My business is ripping people off. But I'm going to come here and go, I'm going to tithe that money. Sweet, tithe it. But then go home and change your business model. The reality is the people of God need to be people of truth. The truth in love is how I differentiate you as a person of God from somebody that I know isn't. That's how I differentiate. Because people that are not of truth, I automatically assume are not following God, right? If people lie to you or manipulate you or take advantage of you in their business or their personal life, you automatically assume you're not following God. You automatically assume it. Right? It's not a mystery. I love in that video where, how often do you tell the truth? Probably around 85% of the time. How often do you tell the truth? I love that old lady. Like 47%, 47.6%. That's less than half. How do I even know you're telling me the truth about the percentage you just gave me? But you know what's interesting about that? Is that not one person said, 100% of the time I tell the truth. Everybody gave a percentage. And you know what that tells me? Watch this. That tells me that implanted inside of every person is the reality that you know you're a liar. It's implanted inside of you. God's witness inside of you tells you, I'm not perfect. And you know the number one way you know you're not perfect is because you know you never tell the truth all the time. That's the number one way God witnesses against you in your own heart that you are a sinful person that needs to be transformed. You need the grace of God to make you different because you know in your heart you're a liar. And that's the foundational reality of being a sinner, is you'll manipulate any situation to get your way. Or you'll cover it over with something else, and it's a total lie. And I love that. Even people that aren't follow God, they're just a random, hey, how often do you tell the truth? They come up with a percentage. It's never 100%. Even the people that are like, about 95-ish. Even 95, you're still a liar. Realize that the only difference many times that people see between the people of God and the people who are not is the fact that you tell the truth. You tell the truth in love. And God, with the nation of Israel, who came from a system that was controlled by the Pharaoh, now they are going to be people of truth. Why? Because the Pharaoh wasn't a man of truth, but they are now children of the God of truth. And if the Father is truth, then his children should be truth. You shouldn't be a child of a father who is truth and you not be truth. Even in our modern day, the Bible and the God behind it are used in the courtroom to bind the person to the truth. So if you've been in a court of law, almost all the way through the American justice system, guess what we've had to do? I swear to what? Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me, God. We even know it by heart. You know what's funny? Is there's nothing magical in this paper. There's nothing magical in here that I put my hand in and go, true, I got to tell the truth. It's a piece of paper. Some printer just made this book with ink on it. You want to know what makes it powerful is that if the God of this Bible actually exists, then he knows if I'm telling the truth or not, right? This Bible, this bookish thing doesn't discern the truth. Guess what discerns the truth? Is the God, if he's real, behind this book. And the whole point in our justice system, in our court system was, if you don't tell the truth, guess who knows? You might fool the lawyer, you might fool the judge, you might fool me, you might fool the defendants, you might fool the prosecutor, you might fool everybody. But guess who you don't fool? Is the God that knows all things. Even in our court system, we don't even follow God. We don't even care about God. And it's going away. But almost throughout our whole history, we've had to swear on the Bible. Not because this book is magical. It's because the God behind this book knows all things. And he knows if you lie. You can fool me, but you can't fool God. Satan is known as the father of lies. And lying and false witnesses were used to put Jesus himself to death. In the trial of Jesus, the religious leaders brought forth guys that were lying about Christ to be false witnesses against him so that they could put Jesus to death. So when Jesus dies on the cross, part of the reality of Jesus' judicial realities was that they brought forth false witnesses to claim lies about Christ so they could nail him to a piece of wood. That's how desperately the religious leaders wanted to get rid of Jesus, is they paid and got other people to lie about Jesus when he had never sinned so that they could kill him. That's the value of even God in the flesh, that there should be truth. That even people lied about Jesus to get him killed because they were jealous of him. But all of that lying comes from somewhere. And look what Scripture says. Turn to John 8. So Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, towards the back of your Bible. John 8:44. John 8:44. Jesus' own words. Here's a guy who right after this story, in a few months, is going to be convicted of a crime he never committed, and much of it's going to come out of false witnesses. Look what Jesus says before he gets to his trial about liars. Jesus actually speaking to the religious leaders. So this isn't some random rabble bunch of people. He's speaking to the guys who claim to be the pastors and priests of their day. And look what he says. Verse 44, John 8:44. You are of your father, the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning and has nothing to do with the truth. Because why? Because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks out of what? His own character. When Satan speaks lies, it's so natural for him because it's coming from a character of rebellion and hatred for the truth. When Satan speaks lies, it's his native tongue. It's how he speaks. For he is a what? He is a liar and the father of what? Of lies. I want you to understand that when you lie, you are speaking not of the Spirit of God, you are speaking of the spirit of Satan. That everything about lying is satanic. We don't think of it that way. We kind of go, it's a white lie. We even couch our lies in like little different ways. Because we don't want it to be known as, I don't want to be known as being a liar. I just want to be known as being a smart businessman. I just want to be known as being a great person that has to do a couple things on the side to make things work for me. No, you're a liar. No, you're a manipulator. Let's just be honest. And Jesus cuts right through it. Bam! Cuts right through all the garbage. And all the, oh, maybe not, or maybe this, or maybe a white liar, blah, blah. Jesus just goes wham right through it, and he goes, you want to know who lies all the time? Satan. And you want to know why he lies? Because his character is lying. So when he lies, he speaks of his native language. He's the father of lies. He's the propeller of lies. When you have a child, they have to learn to speak. So you teach them, if you're Spanish, you teach them español. If you're from the ghetto, you teach them yo. If you got really good verbiage, you teach them to speak appropriately. However your kid grows up, you teach them how to speak. That's your job as a parent. Guess what? When you grow up lying, it's of your native tongue. You want to know why? Because all of us grow sinful people. All of us grow up as our native tongue lying. And it's the power of God through Christ that changes the heart that makes you into a truth teller. We have to train our kids, don't lie. Are you lying? Did you just lie about that? And your kids look up at you, while they're holding a sucker in their hand or whatever. Did you steal that sucker? Nope. Do you have a sucker in your hand? Nope. We are born liars. And it's only when God transforms our heart and our mind, watch, that we should go from always being a liar to slowly dying to our lies and living in the truth. We should be leaving the old woman, the old man behind that lies all the time and manipulates to people that tell the truth in love. Why? Because when we are born, we are sinful people bent on sinning. Sinful people lie all the time about every situation. It's our native tongue. We speak it without even thinking. We don't even have to be trained in how to lie. It's already our nature. However, when we come to know Christ, that nature, that lying nature, should not still be there. Jesus now has helped us overcome our lying ways. And now slowly, our lying should die. And we should be truth tellers. The more we start to look like Jesus, the more we should be in truth. The more we start to just continue to lie, the more we could question if we're even saved. Because you can't be a liar, a continual liar, and say, God controls my life. Because God is truth. How can they live together? They can't. But as people of God, we should be truthful. We should be people of truth. We should be people of integrity. Lying or falsehood is not just the opposite of truth, but actually the opposite of God, who is truth. God is pure integrity, having no deception or falseness within his character, and God's children should strive to imitate their Father. Imagine if God lied like us. Ready? Let's take an adventure into theology land for a second. Imagine if God was a liar. Hey, I love you. I really don't. I'm going to send Jesus to save you. Psych! He didn't do it. We're trusting in God that he's telling the truth, that when he loves us, he's telling the truth. When he's going to save us from our sin and hell, that he's telling the truth. Imagine if you and I die next week. This is dying. And we stand before God, and God goes, I'm glad you're here, because I got something to tell you. Remember all that stuff I said in the Bible about that I loved you and that you're saved? Ha! I was just kidding. I was having a bad day. I said I love people, but guess what? You know what? I really don't. I don't have time to deal with all these billions of people. I'm just going to chuck y'all in hell. You just go, what are you doing? You said you loved us. You said you were going to save us. Yeah, I know, but that's just words. The reality is that God is truth, and we stake our lives on the truth of God. And watch. So here's why it matters. That same God that we trust to be true, his children must be true. That way we know who really loves God based on if you're a liar. The lying should die and the truth should live inside our hearts. I realized the reality of that this last week, that the only way our hearts as a nation are going to change, that we come to know the gospel of Christ. Jesus is the only hope for our country, friends. We can no longer trust our government to make things right. We need to trust the God to make things right in our hearts. We as individuals need to repent and quit living in wickedness and come to know Christ. That's the only way our culture changes. You can't legislate heart change. But through the power of God, we can be different. And you know what affected me these last 2 weeks? Was the reality that we need to tell even more people about the gospel of Christ. It's the only hope. God put inside my heart such a fire for the reality that we have not even scratched the surface of our own area. Do you realize that there's almost 1 million people within 20 miles of this church? Almost 1 million. Do you realize that on any given Sunday, only about 25,000 people go to a church? Let me break this in for you. Our message is the only message that matters. Our government's not going to change, but people's hearts can change through Christ. So this last week, I'm sitting in my office right here in this other building. I hear this right up here, up on Rancho. I walk outside, and I see that somebody has ran into a police vehicle. And I go, bummer. There's tax dollars down the drain. Nobody's hurt, but there's a severe accident right here at Rancho, California. They clear it. I go back to my office. A couple minutes later, chaos. I'm going, what is going on out here? Somebody comes running in, lock the doors. Okay. So we lock our front doors. I see lights going. I see cops over here at Margarita in Moraga. So the other end, the bookend of our street. I walk outside, and there's police action up here. There's police action down over here. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, man, our block is hot. So I may look pasty white, but man, I did ministry in Pomona. And I had some of my kids from the hood coming up going, there'd be times where they'd come up to me as their pastor and go, dude, the block's hot, pastor. The block's hot. You got to get out of here. So I'm walking outside going, man, our block is hot. We got cops over there. We got cops over there. I start walking down down towards the other issue down over here. Turns out, one of the men that I believe lived in the apartments across the street decided to hold up a El Pollo Loco on Jefferson, only for about $120. Motorcycle cop catches him, chases him all the way down to right here. He rounds the corner. His vehicle runs into a family that was in a vehicle right here. According to our law, if you're being chased by the police and you crash into someone, you have now become a person using a deadly weapon, which you can be shot. The cop pulls out his gun, kills the guy on Moraga, shoots him, pulls him out of the vehicle, handcuffs him, and the guy dies on the street, right here. Bled out on the street, right here on Moraga. And as I walked over, he had just died a few minutes earlier. And what was odd to me is that it was a white guy, by the way, in case you're wondering in the back of your mind. The cops had shot and killed a guy right here. And you know what was interesting to me is I thought, wouldn't it have been amazing if the gospel had changed his life? We're literally 200 feet from his door. And I don't know what else we could have done, but wouldn't it have been amazing if he had come to this church and Jesus had changed his life, and say he was a meth addict and go, I need to go hold up a place just to keep my meth addiction going. I don't even know why he held it up. But the reality is that imagine if he would have come here and gone, I was going to hold up a place this last week, but God changed my life, and now I'm trying to get my life straight. That's the power of the gospel. He had to be stopped by our police because the gospel had not taken root in his heart and transformed him. And I want to close by saying this. There is no hope apart from the gospel of Jesus for our culture. Our church has a vital part to play in telling people about the love of God, because everyone around us needs the truth of Jesus to become people of truth. People need to sense the love of God so they can sense the transformation of God, and they can become people of God. Because our God is truth, they can become people of truth. Transformed to be different. Transformed to change this world. As God is, so should his people be. As God is, so should his children be. If God is truth, let us be people of truth this week. Apply. Kleptos, I hope you stopped stealing last week. And you know what? Let's do it for 2 weeks. And on top of that, let's add being people of truth. We put away our lying ways and we become men and women of truth. Why? Because people need to see Jesus in you. People need to see Jesus in me. And the way they do that most often is if they know you'll tell them the truth, that you're a person of integrity, living your life the same at midnight on Friday as you are Sunday morning, as you are Tuesday afternoon at your business, as you are all week long. That's how people know that God is real, is because you and I are people of truth.